Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Kiros to Burnside and everywhere in between. I am one of your co-hosts, Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, Mike, we got another busy holiday week with more drops of nerd stuff than I thought was available or possible over a short news week.
Yeah, I agree. There was more to talk about than I expected. How was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
Oh, not too shabby around these parts. Actually did the solo thing for the first time in, I think, ever, actually. So.
Really? So just you and the immediate family?
Yep. Just me, my wife,
Wow.
and my son, and it was good. Like my parents went up to my sister's, her parents went out to their family. It was like, all right, we can just chill here with the dog and relax for 4 days.
Yeah, honestly, I had a wonderful time with both my immediate family and my wife's immediate family, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I get to smoke a turkey. Like at both sides of the family are very trapped in tradition of like, gotta have the turkey, gotta have it like this. I'm like, no, just give me a little turkey breast. Yeah. I'll throw it on the smoker. We'll call it a day. Problem solved.
Nice. I have a cousin who a few years ago just decided that like they were going to stay home for Christmas.
Yep.
Like every year, and just weren't gonna. Just always going to do Christmas. Like if you wanted to come to their house, fine, but we're just going to stay home for Christmas. And at first, I was kind of like, "What? I don't get to see my cousin on Christmas? What's going on? Like that's you're taking yourself away from the family. Like how dare you?" And then there's been several years where like Christmas Day specifically is so stressful, driving here, then driving here, and dropping presents here, and saying hello to whatever. That I get it now. I totally get it, and I'm low key jealous that I can't spend Christmas at my house all day. Maybe someday. We'll see.
Yeah. Now this week we did get some major dropping of Christmas packages in the form of Hawkeye. We're gonna take that and roll that into the end of the episode in a full spoiler discussion on it. So if you're looking for Hawkeye, I'll timestamp it in the comments and come back later, and that'll be an interesting one because I think they're doing good.
Yeah, we'll certainly talk about it at the end of the show. But right now we're going to talk about quickly going to give a non-spoiler review of something that I did this past week that, Steve, I haven't done in a long time. Do you know what I did this week?
I think I do know what you did. How about we tell them?
I went to the movies. I went to see a movie in a movie theater for the first time since the global pandemic has swept through America, and it was great.
And don't forget, the sequel might be coming. Not of Ghostbusters, but of the pandemic. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. No, I'm well aware that the sequel that is coming. COVID part. It was really the third one, really, if you think about it, because the second one was the Delta sequel.
Return of the Omicron?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Or Revenge of, whichever you want to go with. But yeah, I went to the theater and I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, a movie that I was very excited to see, and I felt finally I was comfortable enough. I got my 2 shots and my booster, and my son's 1 shot into his vaccination process, so I went. I wore my mask. I was a little anxious because it was kind of a crowded theater. Ended up being more crowded than I thought it would on a random weekday while school is still in session. But anyway, I had a great time, and I really liked the movie. And I'm not gonna give any spoilers out. I rewatched Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, the 2 that take place in the same continuity as Ghostbusters Afterlife. I hadn't seen Ghostbusters 2 in a long time. That movie is mixed. There's some fun stuff, and it's not great. There's like a lot of stuff that I remembered from loving when I was a kid, and I was like, oh yeah, that's funny, but like I don't know if it's it's kind of retreading the first one a little bit, and there's some fun stuff. But first one to me is a classic. It's probably one of my favorite comedies. I just think it's so funny and so good. It was a long time that I had seen the first one in its entirety. I remember like when I was in college, I would watch it all the time, but so that was enjoyable and set me up perfectly for Ghostbusters Afterlife, which, if you're not if you weren't aware, is a direct continuation of that mythology, albeit 40, 50 years later, however long it's been.
Right.
Direct ties to the characters from the original films. I thought it was great. I'm seeing that it's getting like mixed to positive reviews. I totally understand where the mix is coming from, and I will explain it in a way that does not spoil anything, but will give you, you, Steve, specifically, and other nerds listening to this, a good insight as to why it's mixed. Ghostbusters Afterlife is very much the Force Awakens of the Ghostbusters franchise, where it has to reinvigorate a franchise and also sequelize it at the same time. So it's kind of like it's got to reboot it and set new paths for the future, introduce new characters while also recognizing the past. And it does this in a way that does a really good job, I think, of setting up some new and interesting characters for the franchise, but also retreads a lot of stuff that we have seen before, almost in a way that is more blatant than way Force Awakens does that, where Force Awakens is like, oh, the Death Star, but the Death Star was like this, but this is Starkiller Base, and it's like just a bigger Death Star, but doesn't really have anything to do with the original Death Star. This is very much I don't know how to say it without spoiling it. It's more of a direct, exact same thing that you've seen before, in a way that I was like, they did it in a way that justified it, and it kind of made sense the way they tied it in. But it was and a lot of my reaction was, this is fun and I'm glad this is happening. But in the back of my head, I was like, kind of weird that they wouldn't just do something completely different. Anyway, I very much liked it. If you're a fan of any Ghostbusters movie, any of the previous 3 that they've made, I'd say go check it out, because I don't know, I always like seeing Ghostbusters in movies. So I wish they make more of them in whatever form they decide to make more Ghostbusters movies. I want more Ghostbusters movies. So I was very excited to see this one. So definitely check it out, whether you wait for it until it's on demand or on streaming or on Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah.
Check out Ghostbusters Afterlife if you are into that kind of thing. And if you're listening to this show, most likely you're into that kind of thing.
You would think.
That's my brief, non-spoiler, positive review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. And we're moving into a universe that we have not spoken too much about since they dropped all kinds of crazy news a month or 2 ago. I don't remember how long ago that is anymore. I feel like we do this every week, and I lose track of what we talk about week.
As always, about it. Time is just a flat circle, and DC fandom happened at some point in the recent past.
Yep, so it's been a little quiet on the DC front, at least on our podcast, for a little while, but now we got a bunch of stories to talk about here. First, we got a new synopsis for The Batman, the new movie coming out in 2022. March 4th, 2022, my birthday. Directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson as the titular Batman. The synopsis is as follows. Gives us a little bit more details to what we should expect. 2 years of stalking the streets as the Batman, striking fear into the hearts of criminals, has led Bruce Wayne deep into the shadows of Gotham City. With only a few trusted allies, Alfred Pennyworth, Lieutenant James Gordon, amongst the city's corrupt network of officials and high-profile figures, the lone vigilante has established himself as the sole embodiment of vengeance amongst his fellow citizens. When a killer targets Gotham's elite with a series of sadistic machinations, a trail of cryptic clues sends the world's greatest detective on an investigation into the underworld, where he encounters such characters as Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, Carmine Falcone, and Edward Nashton, aka the Riddler. As evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale... What did I just read? As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans becomes clear, Batman must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued Gotham City. So, this is great. This sounds... I mean, it doesn't give you a ton of detail, but it certainly kind of highlights Riddler's plan, seeming going after the rich elites of Gotham City. Why, we don't know that yet. That I'm sure that'll come out in the actual film. I forgot that Carmine Falcone was going to be in this movie, or Falcone. I was thinking Falcone because that's how I read it first.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and it's John. What is his last name?
Leguizamo.
No, that was a good guess. Is it John? The guy that plays the Jesus in
Oh
Big
god.
Lebowski. He's a great actor. What's his name?
Yeah.
I'm blanking on his name. Incredible actor.
Not
He's in a bunch of
John
Coen Brothers
Turturro.
movies. John Turturro. Yeah.
There we go.
Playing Carmine Falcone. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just pumped for this movie. So I think it's cool. It's cool. They're clarifying that it's been 2 years. He's already been Batman for 2 years, so he's still like new at it. But definitely has made his presence known. He's already working with Commissioner Gordon and stuff, or I guess Lieutenant James Gordon at this point. So yeah, name checks Selena Kyle, Oswald Cobblepot, and Riddler that we knew were going to be in it, but I feel like making them a part of the official synopsis like this kind of really highlights that they're going to be important figures in the film itself. Yeah, and I also like that they refer. Sorry, I also like they refer to him directly as the world's greatest detectives. Matt Reeves has said many times that he wants us to focus on like Batman's detective skills, which really most of the movies have completely ignored so far. So putting that phrase in the synopsis to me really kind of drives it home that that's what they're going for. They're going for like a noir detective kind of style.
The way they wrote it too seems like the fact that they're noting only a few allies, and it seems like they're definitely pushing, like Reeves is trying to push this him against the world type thing, where the entirety of Gotham is corrupt and he's the lone not vision or beacon of light by any stretch, but the beacon of hope. The stereotypical, not the hero they deserve, but the hero they need.
They have.
He's like he's here and he's doing things, so it's better than the alternative. But
and they specify that he only has those two allies, Alfred and Gordon. So like he still does have to kind of prove himself to the rest of the city. So I like that. There's some internal conflict there where not everybody, people know that he's there. I'm sure there's going to be the thing. Some people think he's doing a good job. Some people think that he's a vigilante monster or whatever. And that's great. Even within, he put some conflict there for Bruce Wayne, also put some conflict there for James Gordon, having to defend his relationship with this vigilante that I'm sure that is probably busting other corrupt people on his payroll. So yeah, I don't know. Any new information that we're getting about this movie, I'm excited about. I feel like it's going to be here before we know it. It's almost the end of the year already, and then, early March is right around the corner.
It's going to be coming quick, and there's you got the holidays, and then it's going to be right into where we're seeing this drop. So it's basically Morbius and then this as far as what's coming in the new year. So.
You're right. I mean, unless you're counting, New Year.
They pushed the February Marvel date. So
yeah, you're right.
It's I guess we've now talked about masked vigilantes that need to be brought to justice and are a crime on humanity. So it's only fitting that we talk about. Oh wait, not that character that J.K. Simmons is playing. Apparently he's everywhere now. So
he's everywhere.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons has confirmed that he is in Batgirl as Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, and this is something that we've talked about on the show before because it was rumored that he was going to be in it, and I think in other talking about the Batgirl, we brought it up. I just called it the Batgirl. I'm so used to saying the Batman,
the Batgirl, the Robin. That's a very different movie.
Yeah,
just a bird. It's some Oscar piece about just a bird sitting on a nest.
You ever watch Teen Titans Go with your son?
Strangely enough, he found it today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
it is hilarious. I never really watched it. I mean, it's still on. They still make new episodes of it, but I never got into it. When I don't know, before I had a kid. Now I watch it with my son all the time, and he thinks it's hilarious. And there is one episode where Robin is jealous that he doesn't have superpowers, so he makes some like weird The Fly teleport machines or like things like that, and he puts an actual Robin in one of them, and he gets in the other one, thinking that he's gonna get some like flight powers, but he just becomes like a disgusting mutant bird man hybrid.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the Robin actually gets these like cool crime fighting, like detective powers.
So there's a ninja Robin and a Robin.
Yeah, there's an actual bird who then shows up in subsequent episodes. Will just
that's great.
just drop in with a grappling hook and grab something and leave again. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
So shout out to Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, my son found it randomly. So my parents bought him a tablet, like one of those Amazon Fire Kid things.
Yeah.
We were not huge fans of the purchase, so it
Sure.
can only be used, like Grandma and Grandpa were the only ones that knew how to use it, even though they had no idea how to use it.
Yeah.
So if they're over here, he gets to, use that, and he pulled up YouTube,
Yeah.
and him and my father were sitting there watching it, and my dad was like, "Oh, Teen Titans Go, I wonder what this is." And he clicked it, and the two of them are sitting there laughing at it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
we'll roll with this."
Yeah, it's very much like it's like the Teen Titans characters meets like Looney Tunes or something. Like it's
Right.
bonkers insane and hilarious.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, back to Batgirl. Finally confirmed that J.K. Simmons is in Batgirl. Why is this a big deal? Because J.K. Simmons played Commissioner Gordon in Zack Snyder's Justice League, both versions of Justice League. Very small role in both films, which is it's strange to me that, I mean, I guess they had plans for him probably when Ben Affleck was still attached to go on as Batman. They probably signed him with plans for him to continue on into subsequent films. Otherwise, It would be strange to get such a high caliber, great actor for such a tiny role. It doesn't even really need to be in the movie. Like, you probably could have cut out his entire part and had it work. But world building, et cetera, I get you want to put in as many characters as you can, but
and if he's already in a contract and you don't have any plans to use him further down the road, then what the heck? Throw him in there.
Right. So this him coming back as Gordon in Batgirl confirms that it takes place within that same universe, within the for lack of a better term, Snyderverse. That was created by, started with Man of Steel into Batman vs Superman and blah 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 blah. Okay, well, I've got to read this quote from J.K. Simmons as he talks about it, and then we're going to dig into it a little bit more. Because I frankly was surprised, and apparently so was he. He says, "I was completely flabbergasted that they came back to me recently and wanted to have me be Commissioner Gordon again and have it be a more significant role. Leslie Grace is Batgirl, and I think I'm actually going to get on the horn with her and the director in the next couple of days and do a little preliminary rehearsals on it. Couple of months from now. Well, they start very soon, and then I jump on board sometime in January over in Glasgow, which is a wonderful place to be shooting it because it's gothic. I'm excited to be the once and future Jim Gordon. I had long discussion with the guys about how we want to portray him. And the script, I thought, I just don't want to give away anything at all here, so I'm not going to talk about the structure of it in any way. But I thought it was really interesting take on introducing Batgirl and giving Jim Gordon, fleshing him out certainly more than I had a chance to do in my first foray into that role. So he himself shocked that they asked him to come back as Commissioner Gordon. And I think a lot of people were, just because Ben Affleck is forever what everybody knows is done as Batman after his role in The Flash. And this was my question when this was first rumored. This is my question every time we talk about it. Is there going to be a Batman in this movie, even referenced? I've certainly must be referenced in a Batgirl movie. They must reference the existence of Batman. But J.K. Simmons firmly Commissioner Gordon to Ben Affleck's Batman. And if Ben Affleck's not there anymore, what's this going to be? Like, how is that relationship going to play out? They can certainly do it in a way where she can become Batgirl because there is no Batman and she feels like she has to step into that role or do something because there's a lack of people protecting Gotham City. Like, that would definitely work. When they're referencing her inspiration to be a bat themed vigilante, are they going to show pictures of Ben Affleck or pictures of his suit or something, like newspaper shots of his Batmobile?
Right.
Like, what's this going to be? And I don't really know. My only other question is, are they thinking forward enough? Because we know the Flash is a time travel multiverse movie. What is going to happen? What ramifications is the Flash movie going to have on the DC universe? Is it going to erase things? Is it going to add things? Is it going to merge worlds together? Are they thinking forward enough to where they know what's going to happen with the Flash and how it will affect Gotham City that they can be making this Batgirl with whatever the end of the Flash is in mind. Does that make sense to you?
Sort
what
of.
I just said? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I guess half the question in my mind is, like, how much do we know? I know we've talked about the Batgirl movie before, but it's not on the forefront of my brain.
Sure.
Like, how much do we know about the plot and what's driving it and where? Like, we don't really know a whole heck of a lot, right?
No, we don't know anything. We believe it's an origin story for her.
Okay.
But that's about it. And he says as much in this quote, but that's pretty much all we know, I think.
Yeah, so like we know they're blowing the multiverse apart, just like Marvel's doing. We know Simmons is there as Gordon. We don't have any clue if Affleck's attached to this Batgirl project, do we?
No. For all we know, he's done after he wasn't expected to return for the Flash, and he went back for the Flash, and for as far as we know, that's all that he's going to do, and he's done after that. But but the Flash, when he's upsetting multiverses and has to set a timeline right, assumedly something like that, he's got to save whatever universe that he ruined by going back in time or whatever. So when he goes back, when he sets it right, quote unquote, when he sets the timeline right, what things are going to be different? And is like a lot of people are theorizing that this is the way that DC is going to, or the Warner Brothers is going to, for lack of a better phrase, get rid of Ben Affleck's Batman and maybe even Henry Cavill's Superman if they need to like clear the deck of these things that weren't working or that were poorly received or whatever, Jared Leto's Joker to, whatever other Snydery things that they don't want to move forward with. This would be a way to do it. Like if he runs back in time, if he comes back and sets the timeline right, is Michael Keaton just going to be the main Batman? Is Robert Pattinson going to have a cameo at the end of the Flash movie as like the main Batman of the universe? I doubt that. I feel like they want to keep that one separate. But I mean, anything
but at
like
the same time, is this would this fit in somewhere in the continuity of like some alternate multiverse? Hypothetically gender bent, like Batgirl rises instead of Batman type thing.
I mean, that's certainly possible.
Certainly possible. With Batgirl already being a character and already having her own origin story, I would find that slightly disingenuous, but also not having her have to rely on the Wayne family and that whole mess. It's a whole different thing, and there's a bunch of ways they can do it good, and there's a bunch of ways they can do it bad, and who the heck knows what they're going to do with it. But
he does say...
What's that?
Yeah. No, he does say in this quote, it was a really interesting take on introducing Batgirl.
True.
So, I mean, that could... there's so much we don't know. We don't know. And yeah, in my brain, because of the continuity of the books that I'm familiar with, she at least knows that Batman exists when she becomes Batgirl, whether or not she's directly inspired by him or just happens to be wearing a Batman costume at a costume ball when it gets attacked by, villains and she saves the day.
Dare I say, almost like an Archer that we may be talking about later?
Yeah, almost like that. Yeah, very similar. So I don't know. It's anybody's guess, but similar to the Flash movie, I feel like the Flash movie, much like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, will likely have huge repercussions on both those movies. Will largely affect their respective universes, and it just all remains to be seen. But if Warner Brothers has finally cracked the code in thinking ahead like this, like they certainly had that Flash script finalized and a director in place finally long before they announced this movie. So they could have known, like, okay, well, if this is going to happen, then let's take this, whatever Flash does that affects the Batman. I mean, there's two Batmen in the Flash movie, so like it's definitely tied in somehow to what's going on in Gotham City. So whatever happened, they could at this point be as forward thinking enough to say, okay, whatever's happening over here, this will be a jumping off point from the end of the Flash movie directly or not. But I guess that remains to be seen because we don't know what's going to happen in The Flash. Anything could happen. Anything could happen in Doctor Strange. And as far as we know right now, anything could happen in Batgirl. The only one thing that we know is J.K. Simmons is returning as Commissioner Gordon alongside Leslie Grace as Batgirl.
Right.
And I'm pumped for this. There's still no release date, obviously. They said they're just starting to film. I guess they're filming already. He's starting to film next month, or in January.
And, and if they're filming in Glasgow, it'll be a it'll be at least like the architecture will be really interesting to see. So
yeah, and he's right about it being a Gothic-looking city, and that's cool. For a city like traditionally Gotham cities, very
Gotham is Gothic. Weird.
Yeah, weird, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I literally just put that together in my brain. So here we go.
Nice. Okay, well, last story in the world of DC. Trailer for a movie that Steve and I are very, very incredibly excited about, or I kind of legitimately am. Steve maybe more tongue-in-cheek in it on this one. I'm not really sure.
It's a little both. Like it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be dumb fun, but it's gonna be fun.
Right, but just the fact that it's an answer to the gripe that you and I have had and mentioned so many times in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't Marvel and DC making superhero related content, big budget movie super related content aimed directly at children and not like teenagers, but children? We got a trailer this past week for the DC's The League of Super Pets.
Yes.
This is starring Superman's dog Krypto, alongside a lot of other newly powered, according to this trailer, newly powered animals. Definitely not the take that I was expecting them to go with the League of Super Pets. It was my assumption that this was going to be Superman's dog, classic DC, all the famous DC pets that everybody knows about. Batman's dog Ace, Supergirl's cat Streaky, Wonder Woman's kangaroo Jumpa, Aquaman's seahorse Storm. Everyone's favorite A-list DC characters.
I totally knew all of those.
Yeah, that's right. Wonder Woman has a kangaroo. Patty Jenkins, don't be a coward. Put Jumpa in Wonder Woman 3. Wonder Woman 3, show me Jumpa.
Jumpa was actually going to have a cameo in Rogue Squadron, but that got canceled.
That would have been amazing. Anyway, this trailer is Krypto, Superman's dog. Superman being voiced by John Krasinski. We saw his name on the cast list a while ago, but now we know who he's actually voicing. That's pretty cool gig for him. Makes a good Superman in this trailer. And it seems like Krypto, the dog, has to... the Justice League gets kidnapped or something, and then Krypto has to save them with the help of these just random other animals that just happen to get superpowers. It looks like a squirrel and a pig and a dog that looks like Ace the Bat Hound. My guess is that by the end of this movie, these animals will probably be adopted by the Justice League members. Each one of them. That's just my guess for like a happy ending. And like what you said, Steve, it looks dumb, it looks fun, and I agree. I don't think this movie is going to be my favorite superhero movie of all time, but it might be my 5-year-old son's favorite superhero movie of all time, and that's enough. That is enough for me.
Absolutely. Sure. And that's... hey, if that's where it ends up, like I'm very excited for this to come out and to hit those notes. Like just from the trailer, it looks like... Kevin Hart is playing Kevin Hart because that's what Kevin Hart does, and that actually fits pretty well as a foil to Krasinski. And I can't believe I'm overanalyzing a performance of an animated Super Pets movie, but it actually the trailer almost warranted it. So I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I agree. What else do you want from a Super Pets movie?
Exactly.
Just gotta be dumb fun. But, okay, moving from Warner Brothers and DC to a galaxy far, far away, we got a couple Star Wars things to talk about. 2 stories, they're kind of very similar stories, so I'm sure one will flow into the other pretty easily. We got some quotes this week from Dave Filoni talking about writing the Ahsoka show for Disney+. Ahsoka Tano solo show, as she was introduced in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, played wonderfully by Rosario Dawson, I should say. Dave Filoni had this to say. For those of you who don't know, Dave Filoni, Chief Creative Officer or whatever at Lucasfilm or something, executive producer and writer and creator of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, Obi Wan, all these Disney Plus shows that you're getting. Bad Batch, Clone Wars, Rebels. Dave Filoni was the mastermind behind all those shows.
He's one of the F's running everything at Disney. Everything that's going good at Disney is run by someone with a last name that starts with an F, so we're good.
At Disney? At Lucasfilm.
Well, I'm thinking Favreau, Filoni, Feige.
Oh, Feige. Okay, yeah. Well, that's pretty good. I'm sure it's slightly reductive. I'm sure there's people that we don't
yeah,
know.
I guarantee it. But
yeah.
I don't think the
it.
mouse is calling us on this one.
Yeah, I agree. No one's getting upset about our rinky-dink little podcast here. Sorry, big time, incredible, wonderful, well-loved podcast. Dave Filoni had this to say about writing the Ahsoka show. He said, "It's something you imagine doing for a long time. And then it's kind of startling when you're sitting there and now you have to do it. I thought of this adventure for Ahsoka for a long time, and it's interesting to see how it's evolved. Years ago, I never would have imagined that it would sprung from the branch of a tree that had anything to do with a guy like Din Djarin or a child that looked like Yoda." And he goes on to credit Jon Favreau for helping to add dimension and depth to the emerging story and to the character of Ahsoka as well. So
for anyone who didn't know, Filoni was actually the creator of Ahsoka back in the Clone Wars series.
Yes.
So he's this is like the culmination of his creation. That when you go back to the Clone Wars, when you first meet Ahsoka, you want to throw Ahsoka off a moving bridge somewhere. Like she is the annoying sidekick to Sky Guy through the whole thing, and 100% earns her nickname of Snips. The dare I say the Clone Wars and subsequently Rebels almost end up being the story of Ahsoka's evolution and her maturing into where she is when we meet her in live action. So and that's one of the arcs of the Clone Wars and one of the lines of Rebels, but it's still like there's a lot of character development over the course of primarily Clone Wars and then subsequent series, and to see him being this still this excited about working with this character that he's fleshed out to a good degree, and to take it to that next step is going to be I'm on the edge of my seat for this one.
I know, and you got to know, because thank you for saying and reminding me that he created the character of Ahsoka. At this point, he's created a lot of characters in the Star Wars universe, but Ahsoka was his first one, at least that I know of, or like the biggest one.
First original, because she was right in the beginning of Clone Wars.
Episode 1, for sure. And I'm sure, Stormtrooper or Clone Trooper B-27 or whatever may get a line before she does or whatever. So maybe he's technically the first one chronologically, but Ahsoka's like his child. He kind of sees that character as his baby. I can imagine, and he wrote and directed her debut episode in The Mandalorian season 2. He's writing this series. I'm sure that he's kind of he's very passionate about all Star Wars stuff, and he's great at what he does, but I feel like he's definitely putting some extra love into this one because of it's his own character, and he definitely has an affection for her, as we all do now, because after, as you said, I don't think it's hard for her to be anyone's favorite character early on in Clone Wars. But if you stick with it, it's hard for her not to be one of your favorite characters on that show by the end of that series. She's incredible. And because he's so passionate about the character, and he's passionate about Star Wars, that's how he got the job in the first place of working on Clone Wars, is because he knows everything. He knows he's a Bible of Star Wars in his brain. He's George Lucas without being George Lucas, more or less.
And with a funny hat.
And with a funny cowboy hat all the time. Because he's so passionate about it and he's had it in his brain for a long time, that makes me really excited to know that he hasn't had to change too much, basically. Like, this is the story he's wanted to tell for a long time. It means he's thought it out. He knows how it starts. He knows how it ends. He knows how he's going to get there. And seems to be there's been little evolutions along the way, coming out of Mandalorian, things like that. But I don't know, seems like he's talking about a story that he's always wanted to tell, and now he's getting to. And the fact that he's been so successful with storytelling in the Star Wars universe for the last however many years just tells me that this is just going to be great, like a masterpiece of him, like a masterwork of his, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be great to see this as like, not his magnum opus, like not sending him off or anything, but like,
he's not going anywhere.
Like, for this to be the culmination of that character it'll be awesome to see, and hopefully it lives up to everything else he's done in Star Wars. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, and speaking of people that are high up at Lucasfilm talking about Disney Plus series.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
Yeah. Kathleen Kennedy dropped some quotes about Obi Wan and the possible return of some characters from the sequel trilogy. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. She said, talking about Obi Wan, she said the thing that was most exciting was being on set and watching the two of them, meaning Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, seeing the two of them get excited about being together again. They hadn't seen one another in a long time. I was surprised at how just incredibly emotional it was for each of them to find themselves back in these roles, and just realizing how important Star Wars was to each of them. It was the beginning of their careers. I don't know if it was really the beginning of their careers. I definitely knew who Ewan McGregor was before he was cast as Obi-Wan, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that did not.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of people that saw episode 1 that didn't see Trainspotting, so.
Yes, yeah, that's true. And like I say that, and then I can't think of one thing that I saw him in prior to seeing him as Obi-Wan, but I feel like I knew his name when he was cast as Obi-Wan.
I think Trainspotting was it.
Really? Okay, well then maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
maybe it was the beginning of her careers.
It from me, like that I had seen him in. So.
Yeah, I'll have to do a IMDb, see what I possibly could have known him from prior to that. Maybe nothing. And yeah, I mean, that's got to be... of course, there's going to be emotion there. If they haven't seen each other in a long time, they're getting back onto a soundstage dressed like Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. Like, that's heavy, man. That's heavy for me. And as we've said many times in the show, I'm not a big prequels guy, but there's definitely emotion there. Like, maybe I don't like those movies, but I recognize them as being canon. So there's a lot of power in those two roles and between those two characters and the relationship they had and the actors that portrayed them. Because they clearly spent a lot of time together on those movies and put a lot of themselves into making those movies despite mixed results, you could say.
You may have seen him in Tales from the Crypt or ER.
Maybe I just didn't know who he was. Maybe I was telling myself that I was cooler than I actually was. I'm trying to claim that, oh yeah, I know Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
I'm trying to think in hindsight, like Trainspotting was 96, Phantom Menace was 99, so 3 years there, but 99 I would have only been in 9th grade, so probably wasn't. Trainspotting I probably didn't see until college. So yeah, when the Phantom Menace dropped, yeah, that might have been it for knowing him for me.
I've never seen Trainspotting.
Really?
Is that crazy? Yeah, it seems like I should have seen.
Weird
that movie,
film.
Right? Yeah,
good.
No, I
good
know.
Movie. Weird film.
I've seen clips from it and I know about it, but I've never sat down and watched it. I probably should do that.
Yeah, mildly disconcerting. Block out some time. It's a mind trip.
Yeah. All right. Cool. She went on to say in this interview, this is an interview with Empire magazine. Someone asked her about possible return of Rey and Finn and Poe, characters from the sequel trilogy, and she said, certainly those are not characters that we're going to forget. They will live on, and those are conversations that are going on with the creative team as well. So they're talking about continuing these stories. It seems crazy that they wouldn't. I mean, as mixed as a lot of those, as mixed as reaction to all three of those movies were, I can't imagine that they would just abandon all those characters. Like, Rey is such a like so full of possibilities of things that you could do with her character, whether they're post Rise of Skywalker, whether they're in between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Can't do anything between the first two because there is nothing between the first two. Which I think was a mistake.
It's a full series of 7 minutes in between the movies.
Yeah, you really can get some character depth on her, how long she held her arm out with that lightsaber. But anyway, I would love to see more of Rey. I would love to see more of Finn, because I think Finn really got pushed to the side in those in that sequel trilogy. Like, he did not get his just desserts there.
I mean, he's no Rose, but
I would love to see more of Rose. I would
absolutely
honestly
love to see more Rose. She got short shrifted so hard.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would love to see like a Finn and Rose team up movie. I don't know, like bouncing across the galaxy or something. You know, she's got her little taser from Last Jedi, and
with
you know,
with Lando's daughter as the third wheel.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, make it happen. Do it.
Throw it all in there.
Yeah. What I would really love to see, and I'm about to ask you what you would like to see from these characters. I would love to see a series that focuses on Rey training Finn as a Jedi, or the two of them. You know, she's a more, you know, a few years later, she's a more seasoned Jedi, knows more about the Force. Finn, maybe he's had some training already, but he's more like, you know, he's clearly a newbie. He's up and coming still, doesn't have everything together as far as the Force goes or whatever, and the two of them are on some kind of mission to do something. I don't know what, but I would just love to see more Rey and Finn Jedi stuff. I think that would be cool. Is there something that you can think of that you would love to see more of, or like an exploration of an aspect of those movies or characters?
See, I would love to see what you're talking about, but I believe John Boyega came out verbally and said, "I'm not touching Star Wars again."
Well, he said
those lines.
The last thing I heard him say about it is that he said he would only come back if J.J. Abrams and I think Kathleen Kennedy. I think he said if those two are involved, he would come back, which is surprising to me. Like, I get you don't like Rian Johnson because, you know, what he did to your character. Like, I know a lot of people don't have a problem with it. I feel like he kind of got shoved to the side in Last Jedi, but like Abrams didn't recover his character from that in Rise of Skywalker. He still had nothing to do in Rise of Skywalker. It's not like Abrams came back and brought his character back from the dead or anything like that. Like, he still was on the sidelines, in my opinion. So I don't really. I mean, must have just liked working with Abrams more than Johnson. Could have been. But that's the last quote I remember from John Boyega.
So it wasn't hard out on the whole franchise or the character. No. It was just how it was portrayed or who he was working with or what was going on there.
Yeah, so and I mean, that's no offense. I mean, yeah, and like he's a great actor, and Daisy Ridley's a great actor as well. But, and no offense to either of them, but it's not like you've really seen their stars blowing up since those movies. You know, they haven't really like taken off into other giant projects. They've been working. They're like doing shows and movies and things like that. But
Boyega had like Pacific Rim and its sequels, if you're looking at like other blockbusters.
I think he's doing an Attack the Block sequel and stuff, so like that'll do, you know. And Daisy Ridley's been doing like dramas and stuff like that, so they're working. I'm not saying they're not working. They're definitely not failed actors, but then you compare that to somebody like Oscar Isaac, who is really all over the place, and doing some great work on that like marriage. What is it? Scenes from a Marriage on HBO Max. He's in Moon Knight and like he's all over the place and crushing it. And he definitely is a more like high profile actor, I guess, at this point than the other two. So I feel like he's the least likely, at least of those three, to return. But I can see both Daisy Ridley and John Boyega coming back. Maybe not next year, but a few years from now or
eventually.
Whatever.
Do the Harrison Ford. Just come back whenever you need a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. I really would love to see more of Gwendolyn Christie as
Phasma.
Phasma, thank you.
That was actually going to be what I was going to bring up was they did a 5-issue miniseries on Phasma that
I've heard about it.
Like, it was a really good take. I'll throw that on the pile for you. It was a good take on like the character in general, and if they like adapted that into a miniseries or did something along those lines, like for the hype of Phasma, she also apparently got short shrifted by cuts and what they pulled from the movie and that sort of thing. It's like she was on the A train for all of the promotional stuff, and then you see like 5 scenes with her total in the 2 movies.
Yeah, and then she's not even in Rise of Skywalker at all. I know this other one of my favorite podcasts, Star Wars Minute. They just finished doing a rewatch of Last Jedi, their last season. They're going to come back with Solo probably this year sometime or next year sometime. But they brought up a great point of how they wished that it was a recurring, like at the end in Force Awakens, you don't see it, but it is implied that they put her down a trash compactor in Starkiller Base. And then she comes back in The Last Jedi with no explanation as to how she is back.
No dings in the armor, no nothing.
No nothing. Then she seemingly dies in Last Jedi, falling through flame and explosions and whatever like that. And the guys from Star Wars Minute, their argument should have been that like that should just been her thing. Like she should always seem like she dies and then comes back with no explanation. It's like just put her in Rise of Skywalker. Like don't worry about it. Who cares? Like she just figured it out somehow and got out. Like why just completely malign a character that everybody really likes? Like don't just cut her out completely. Like figure out a way to do it. Like bring her back. Right? Rather you bring her back than the Emperor. You need a big bad guy. Make it Phasma. Don't give me the Emperor. Give me Phasma again. Okay. That last part was me. That I can't attribute that to the Star Wars guys, Minute guys. That was just me going off and realizing how much more interesting it would have been if the bad guy in Rise of Skywalker was Phasma, instead of Palpatine. Anyway, I would love to see more of characters from the sequel trilogy. I like those movies more than I dislike them. So I would love just more connectivity. Whether it doesn't have to be even a show based on them, but make it like a Mandalorian style where it's a new character, but he bumps into Rey somewhere or whatever and has to find something that only Finn has or something, like whatever.
Yeah, find some way to incorporate it all. And
I would love to push it forward. Exactly. So we'll see what happens on that. I haven't gotten any. I was thinking you mentioned Jannah, the character of Jannah, who was rumored to be Lando's daughter. I don't know if they confirmed. They definitely didn't confirm it in the movie, but like that was a whole like mess of stuff. But that made me think that we haven't heard anything. It's been close to a year since they announced a Lando show, and we haven't heard one nugget of information about it since then. If it's going to be Billy D. Williams, is it going to be Donald Glover? Both of them? I hope both of them. Yeah. But I don't know. I really want that show to happen, based on Donald Glover's performance in Solo.
Oh, absolutely.
I want more of that. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't get thrown out. I hope that it's still happening one way or the other. And I know, Donald Glover's a busy guy, so, let him take his time, whatever time he needs, but get him to come back. I want that. Anyway, all right, moving from Star Wars into comic books, we got a Kickstarter call out. This is for a book called Discordia, issues 0 through issue 2. Discordia is a book that has a couple issues been out already that have been kickstarted already, but they're focusing on issue 2. But you can get the original issues of the previous issues through this Kickstarter, through like certain rewards. This is a campaign from Dark Tidings Press. It's a book that's written by Christopher Jerome. Art is by Patrick Brumeyer, and letters by Tobin Racchio. Wow, can't say that. Racchio, maybe. Anyway, this is a horror noir series. Do you like dark gods, cosmic horror, worlds ravaged by war, disgusting creatures, sci-fi action and adventure? Then you'll love Discordia, an ongoing sci-fi horror comic about an ex-military private investigator searching for a missing girl. The only other thing I have to say about this book is holy art. The guy whose name I can't pronounce, Patrick Burmeyer, wow. You are crushing it, my dude. There is incredible, visceral, creepy, horrifying, terrifying artwork for this book. They call it a horror noir series, sci-fi horror comic, whatever. Yep. Yeah, they're nailing it. It's terrifying. They have a pretty long way to go. I think. They have a lot of time left too. I think this is a pretty long campaign. Was it like a 45-day campaign?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Usually Kickstarter campaigns are like a month. So this is like a little bit of an extended one, but they're trying to raise a lot of money. And they're like 30-something%, I think, to their goal, if I remember.
Yeah, they're like 2,500 to 7K, so they're well on their way.
They're well on their way.
The art though, it seems fitting for exactly what they're trying to do, and you're right. It is that visceral feel to it of like you feel the art, which is it's great.
Yeah, it's just real, like. They say dark gods, cosmic horror, disgusting creatures. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you pull up that Kickstarter page, all of those are there.
All of those are there. So check it out. Discordia. That's Discordia on Kickstarter. They're raising funds for number 2, but you can also get there's like issue number 1, and then like a kind of a collection of like I think poems and short stories. I think that they said that they had previously kickstarted as well. So all those are available via rewards packages. So you can check those out. Good luck to Dark Tidings Press and the creative team on raising these funds.
And the link will be in the show notes, which is a new feature because I've figured out how to do things.
Yeah, moving on up. In other comics news, Steve, do you remember a couple months ago when we talked about how they announced this new Luke Cage book, Luke Cage City of Fire?
Both kind of excited about.
Yeah, that sounded really dope, and that it was gonna be the first time I was reading a Luke Cage series, following a Luke Cage series. It was definitely going on my pull list. Well, it was supposed to be written by Hochi Anderson with art from Farid Kamari, and guess what? It's supposed to debut next month, and it got canceled this past week. What is going on? Hochi Anderson posted on social media the following note. He posted a picture on Instagram of the covered issue 1 with a giant red X through it. And he said, no easy way to say this. I got the word Luke Cage got canceled this morning, 1 month away from its premiere. The scripts are all written. The first issue is done and is a thing of absolute beauty. Issues number 2 and 3 are deep into production. Covers have been drawn. People have gotten excited, and with good reason as far as I'm concerned. I remain as proud of this as any work I've ever done. Maybe someday it will be seen, but as of today, this comic is dead in the water. If you want answers, I am not the man to ask. My heart is broken. I'm taking a social media break to lick my wounds. Somewhere, God is having a chuckle. Enjoy it. So, man, that's a bummer. He's clearly upset about this and seemingly doesn't have any answers as to why it got canceled. Why would they cancel this book so soon, so close to publication?
It seems weird. I mean, it looks like it was going to be a direct pull off of the Zdarsky Daredevil with Elektra as Daredevil. Spoiler alert, 30-something issues in. But, like, I don't know. Maybe they wanted to go a different direction with what's going on in the kitchen. Like, I really have no idea, because it did seem like there was a decent amount of hype around the book. I know we were both excited for it, so... Yeah. It kind of sucks to see something like this just dropped.
I know. The synopsis was cool. Like, they don't have an ongoing Luke Cage book right now, I don't think.
Not that I know of.
I just don't know why they would pull it unless it was, like, financial. But, like, yo, you're Marvel Comics, dude. What?
Right. You're printing money. Literally, go print some more money.
Except, I mean, we did read that report a couple months ago saying no one's buying their trades, apparently.
Which is funny because that's like I'm now shifting from my pull. Like right now, I have only non-Marvel pulls because of Unlimited and picking stuff up in trade. So like it's funny how the dynamics shift over the course. Yeah,
it's weird. I was actually reorganizing. I'm back in my basement after the flood. If you're a longtime listener, you'll know that my basement flooded a couple months ago. Finally, I'm getting it back in working order. So I was putting, obviously the first thing I do is set up my bookshelf and get all my graphic novels and trade paperbacks set up. Obviously, it's priority number 1. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I dropped some books from my pull list recently. I'm going to try to start doing that a little bit more. I'm trying to cut back on the amount of like floppies that I'm buying, and I'm going to start trying to buy more trades. Although after stocking my bookshelf, I realized that I am running out of room for trades, but I can always buy another bookshelf, right? That's what bookshelves are for. But I can't remember why I started telling this story. I definitely was going to tie it into something that you said about reading trades. Oh, I guess I
was going to say dropping floppies for trades in various points.
Yeah, I have more Marvel trades than I thought I did. Really.
Oh, okay.
When I'm looking at it, like, because I'm like such a DC guy, and I have tons of Batman and tons of DC stuff, but I'm like, oh, I actually have a lot of good Marvel trades, and I just recently got one more because I got the Hawkeye run last month.
Well, I think that's kind of a dynamic too of like you're more likely to stay up in ongoing DC stuff, and then find a like, hey, this Marvel book was a good run, I'll pick it up in trade.
Yeah.
And you know, the opposite end of the coin. I don't have more DC books than I do Marvel, but I'm much more likely to pick a DC book up in a trade and formally grab the Marvel floppies, because I'm not going to be up on what's coming out for DC. It's like, you tell me, hey, this Mr. Miracle run by Tom King was absolute, you know, dynamite. So I go out and bought the hardcover of that, and it's like, no, Mike was right. That was absolutely dynamite.
Yeah. So I don't know why we started talking about that, but I don't know. This is definitely a book that if I didn't pull this book, this was one that I would have wanted to read in trade for sure. Because it was going to be a mini series. It wasn't going to be like a super ongoing thing. So it was going to have a beginning, middle, and end to it. And it's just a bummer. I don't know why you wouldn't like. There's got to be an audience for Luke Cage. Like when that show launched, it broke Netflix. So I feel like that probably introduced that character to so many people that didn't know him previously. You know, get the right creative team behind a book, then with a character that people love, then you're going to have success. And I don't know why you would pull it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get more news on it. Maybe we won't. Maybe this is just something that will just fade and we'll never hear about it ever again. But I get that, man. Like, it sucks. Like, I've written one comic book, or two, I should say, 2 comic book scripts in my life, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. It takes a lot of work. So, you know, this dude wrote whatever, 5 or 6, or however many, I don't know, maybe it was 12. I don't know how long the series was going to be, but he wrote all the scripts.
Right. Everything was ready to go.
Yeah, advising on covers, advising on improving artwork, and working with an artist and stuff like that. That's a lot of stuff to do, and it takes a lot of passion to do something like that. And just to have it pulled out from under you so close to the world seeing it is just heartbreaking for sure. So, yeah, pouring a little out tonight to Luke Cage, City on Fire, that will never exist, City of Fire. Things that are coming out this week, things that do exist, books coming out this Wednesday. We got Amazing Spider-Man 80, Avengers 50, Archie's Christmas Spectacular #1. That's right, they're still making Archie books, for those of you who didn't know. Batman 2021 Annual #1. Getting into the season of the DC Annuals. There's a bunch on the pull list this week. Buffy the Vampire Slayer 32, Captain Marvel 34, Daredevil 36, Deadly Class 49, Human Target #2. I really loved Tom King's Human Target #1. Looking forward to seeing where it goes. #2. Justice League Dark Annual 2021 #1. New Mutants 23. Got a Red Sonja holiday special. 'Tis the season for one-shot holiday specials as well. So
that are usually mildly ridiculous.
Yes, usually mildly ridiculous, but a lot of fun. I'm always a sucker for a good Halloween anthology or a holiday anthology, for sure. I got Venom #2, Wonder Girl #5, X-Men Trial of Magneto #4. That series has to be close to wrapping up, I would think, at this point.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's been a major disappointment, but that's,
have you been following Trial of Magneto?
I haven't. I'm just going off what I've heard. But it seems like they've taken a lot of the good that Leah Williams did with X Factor and turned it into less good. And it's also doing some funky rebooting with Scarlet Witch that I don't think anybody wants to happen. So,
oh, that's right. I remember we were talking about this series before it launched and it had something to do with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So
that's a bummer.
We'll see what the ultimate end game of that is, but not looking like it was as well received as the early Hickman stuff. So,
well, that's a bummer. Is he still on any of the books, or has he jumped to Substack? I couldn't say what is the second half of that word?
I can't. It's
something.
To my knowledge, I don't think he's currently on any of the. I think he is officially off the X books.
Oh, he's gone. Tynion's gone from Batman. His last issue came out. Unless he wrote the annual. I guess I don't think that he wrote the annual that's coming out. I'll have to check and see. But I think he's done with Batman as well. He's a Substacker now for life. So that's some comics news. Steve, you reading anything of interest right now that we should recommend to our people, comic-wise?
Let me look over at the stack, and it looks like no. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff I've got over there. Like, I'm still piling up the last issue of The Last Ronin is coming out in February, so I'm holding the first 4, and I'm just going to binge through the 4 of them, or the 5 of them.
Nice.
And yeah, other than that, I think my pull right now is pretty much only a couple of the Tinian books, and that's pretty much it. Like, nice. I'm pretty light on pull at this point.
Yeah, cool.
I am pulling the new Moon Knight still, which is also good.
Oh, there you go.
That's the only Marvel pull I have right now.
Wow. I'm still pulling Human Target, as I mentioned. Yep. Great first issue. Yep. I'm pulling the Nightwing, Tom Taylor run, Superman Son of Kal-El. I'm still pulling Blue and Gold. That's a miniseries. Only a couple more issues of that. I actually took, with a heavy heart, I removed Batman from my pull list this past week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough, but I just had to cut down, and I figured creative team is leaving. That's a good time to jump. And if I hear it's great, if Josh Williamson's doing some good stuff, then maybe I'll jump back on. But
right.
I've been getting Batman for a long time now, and I need to pull the Band-Aid off at some point. If I don't jump off the train, then I'll never jump off the train, and I'll just be drowning in, single issue stories over here.
That was me with the X books, where I had pulled like X-Men Gold, X-Men Red, X-Men Blue, X-Men Black, whatever weird stuff that was.
Yeah, that was weird.
The Uncanny X-Men run right after that, through Hickman's stuff, and there was a point where I was just like, I have a lot of X books around here. I'm good.
I know. And it's like a different experience. Like, we love like a show, like when a show drops weekly, like a mystery show, like WandaVision, where it ends and you're like, what is happening? Like, that's like reading the single issues. Then like binging it is reading the trade collection, the trade paperback.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's such a gratifying experience when you have like a whole story. You can sit down and flip through the whole thing. It's so good.
That's that made me think of it when like reading through this Fraction run. It's just like, this is great. I can just keep going.
Yep. And something like that happened to me when I really started getting back into reading comics and trades and Batman specifically. I've mentioned this before on the show that I have jumped off and gotten pulled back into Batman stuff several times throughout my adult life. And the last time that I jumped on and stayed was when Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were doing their run on Batman, starting with the Court of Owls. And when I think I read those, I bought volume 1 and 2 because they're both the Court of Owls arc. And I bought both of them at the same time and read them in a day. And I was just like, I'm reading a fresh story that I didn't know anything about. I didn't know it existed. It's a different artist, so it looks different than any other Bat book I've ever seen before. They're like new. This is just like a character that I love in a completely new world. And it's just wonderful when you can like dive in like that and really sink your teeth into a great story. Similar, again, to the Matt Fraction, PayDavidAja Hawkeye stuff that you just referenced. It's like a great character in a different setting with unique artistry all over the book and really inventive storytelling. So yeah, you can just totally dive in. So it's great.
Nice.
And I'm sure we will talk more about that momentarily after we dive through these only 3 one-shots today. And then we're going to do some Hawkeye talk, one-shots where we do our stories that we want to mention, but not necessarily talk about for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Take a bunch of time. I don't know what word I was going to say. Take up a bunch of stuff. I don't know what that was going to be. But we got some one-shots. Steve, you want to kick off our 3 little one-shots here? So
after a hiatus, the world-famous San Diego Comic-Con is officially returning in 2022 at this point, because, they announced it back, and hopefully it'll stay back. It has been announced that at SDCC Special Edition, which was this year's scaled-down event, that next year San Diego Comic-Con will be returning to its standard summer run in July 21st through 24th, and also that WonderCon will be held April 1st through 3rd.
All right. Got HBO Max has released the cast for its Dead Boy Detective series. This is something that I don't think we've talked about on the show before, but they did announce they were doing a Dead Boy Detective series based on characters that emerged from Neil Gaiman's Sandman run. These are also characters that were in a Doom Patrol Season 3 episode recently.
Nice.
George Rexstrew as Edwin Payne and Jaden Reverie as Charles Rowland. Those are the two titular Dead Boys and Dead Boy Detectives. Cassius Nelson is going to be playing Crystal Palace. I don't know how you say it. Crystal Palace is a cool word. A cool name. But I don't know if that's
team in
really
England,
how
too.
you want to pronounce it. Yeah. And we also got Ruth Connell as the demonic night nurse. Yes, DC also has a character named Night Nurse. Very radically different from the Night Nurse you may be familiar with if you're a Marvel Comics fan. Weirdly enough, sorry, I'm diving into this one a little bit before we go to the last one, but weirdly enough, this Ruth Connell played the Night Nurse character in that episode of Doom Patrol that featured the Dead Boy Detectives, except I should say when they were in the Doom Patrol episode, they were played by different kids or different people. So like this is a recasting, setting it in a different universe than Doom Patrol,
right?
And Titans. But Ruth Connell is playing the same character, but it's a different thing. So it's weird to me that they're keeping one actress as a character. But recasting the other ones, I mean, it's fine.
Well, they did the same thing with Doom Patrol, though, because the chief wasn't Timothy Dalton in
That's
Titans.
true. They did. That's right. They did recast the chief there. But they didn't put it in a different universe, though.
Yeah, it is technically not
the same.
Yeah. So yeah,
because Beast Boy left with them. Yeah. So anyway, strange that they would keep one, but I don't know. She was good, so yeah, I want to keep it good. And speaking of good. I didn't love the casting of the other two guys in the Doom Patrol episode. So
there you go.
I'm not like super stoked about this. Like it's cool that I really like that they are finding stories to tell that aren't just Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League stories, and this is definitely deep cut characters. They're making a Sandman show. Who knows if they're going to show up in the Sandman series? But they got their own detective show. If they're going to reference things, I mean, Sandman's on Netflix, this is on HBO Max, so they won't be in the same universe. They might have their own versions of each other, I guess. But I don't know. It's cool that they're doing just some more deep cut stuff because it's
absolutely
varies the stories that they can tell, which is cool.
And speaking of deep cuts, Ridley Scott has announced that a Blade Runner TV series is in development and that the pilot is already written. I have no thoughts whatsoever on this because, to the much to the chagrin of all my nerd cred, I have never seen Blade Runner or
never seen Blade Runner
2049 or whatever it was.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I really like Blade Runner.
Yep.
It's definitely you can tell that when they made it, it was on the cutting edge of technology because it seems very slow, and it's slow in a way where there's like big sweeping long shots of like a ship or like a flying car or whatever going like over a city. And in 1982, that was like, I've never seen anything like this. But now it's like, this is really dated technology, and you're spending a long time showing it to me. Let's pick this thing up a little bit. So like, I get that. I think I like that movie a lot, but I can see why people could be like, this is boring and slow. Blade Runner 2049, I think, is a masterpiece film. I think it's incredible. So if for no other reason, I recommend you watch the original Blade Runner so you can then watch Blade Runner 2049. I think it's gorgeous. And TV series, there already is I think recently a Blade Runner animated series just started, Blade Runner Black Lotus. I've seen some trailers for it that look incredible. I haven't watched the show itself, but looks really cool. And I'm all down for another Blade Runner, more Blade Runner stuff. If it's, I mean, the two movies are set in the same continuity. It'd be cool if this was in the same. There's certainly plenty of stories to tell. I feel like doesn't always have to be around the same kind of character. So,
there we go.
Yeah, it was Ridley Scott also one of the directors that was asked. This happens every once in a while where someone asks a famous director if they want to direct a superhero movie, and they're like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't like superhero movies." I think Ridley Scott was.
Yeah, he might have been one of the one of the pantheon of directors like that.
That's so annoying because it always pops up on Twitter like Ridley Scott
God.
doesn't want to direct a superhero. Like, who cares if Ridley Scott doesn't want to? I don't want him to direct a superhero movie necessarily. Right. Like if they announced
good, give that movie to the Russos, it'll be fine.
Yeah, give it to someone who wants to do it. Like if they came out and said Ridley Scott is directing a Superman movie, I'd be like, holy shit, what? That is interesting as hell. Yeah. But I don't expect him to do that, and I'm not sitting by my computer hoping for the news that Ridley Scott's going to direct a Marvel movie or something. Like, who cares? I don't know why people get so upset when directors don't want to direct movies that they
don't want to direct.
That they don't want to direct.
I have things at work that I don't want to do. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to go do them.
I know. I don't everyone points at Martin Scorsese because he's been asked that several times, and I don't know if Martin Scorsese is a great director. I don't know that he could direct a superhero movie.
No,
really.
You know what we need to see? We need to see Martin Scorsese's documentary on Figuring Dan and the Modal Nodes.
Oh yeah, that I would watch.
From Mos Eisley Cantina to wherever they ended up, Scorsese needs to follow them around.
Yeah, I agree. But also, that's not a superhero movie. That's That's a band road documentary.
Very true.
And he's made band documentaries before that I think are incredible. So yeah, make that. But yeah, I don't get up in arms about famous directors that don't want to direct superhero movies because they might not even be good at it.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, I can't think of a superhero that Martin Scorsese would be good at directing, unless it was have to be like The Question or something, like a noir detective, superhero or something. But even then, I don't know.
Martin Scorsese to direct Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, right. But even Spider-Man's too fantastic for him. You know, it would have to be a no-powered,
ultra grounded. Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Tracy would be the closest we'd get to a superhero movie that would make sense for Martin Scorsese.
Which I'm currently wearing his watch.
Hey, there you go. Ridley Scott, I feel Ridley Scott made some Alien movies and stuff. He'd maybe be closer to doing it than Martin Scorsese, but I still don't know that he would be great at directing a superhero movie.
How we got on that tangent? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. This is probably my fault, but let's stop talking about that. Hawkeye, Steve. 2 episodes of Hawkeye. I've seen both of them. You've seen both of them. What do you think so far, my friend?
Well, I think I've alluded to it earlier in the cast, but I think so far they're nailing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a complaint. I don't know. They did a very good job of translating and spoiler alert, if you've made it this far.
We're talking spoilers on Hawkeye. So turn it off now if you haven't watched Hawkeye, turn it off.
And if you're turning it off, subscribe, ring the bell, do the whole 9 yards.
All that stuff.
But yeah, I really liked how they translated Fraction's take on Hawkeye, or the MCU take on Hawkeye into Fraction's how he meets Kate and all that sort of thing. I think it works. Yeah. It's definitively not the same, but they're showing that same kind of dynamic. So that's going to be really interesting. The swordsman interaction will be very intriguing to see where that goes. So yeah. I don't know what direction to go from there, but bare bones initial thoughts, it was great.
Yeah, I didn't realize that swordsman's character was the character that he is until doing some digging after the fact. So definitely interested in knowing where that's going to go. I'm liking it very much. I really, really like the amount of time they are giving us with Kate Bishop, who I completely fell in love with after reading the entire Fraction Aja run. And I say Fraction Aja even though there are other artists on that book. David Aja is the main one.
Yeah.
But there are issues where any issue that doesn't take place in Brooklyn, in the high rise in Brooklyn, is drawn by a different artist, which and I'm blanking on the name right now, so I apologize for that. But I think that's a really cool device. But anyway, I think it's great. I think that that run really made me fall in love with the character of Kate Bishop, and they are doing a great job focusing more on her. I thought it was going to be super heavy Clint Barton, and then he like it's really her story. Like it's her story how she meets Clint, and I thought it was going to be Clint going on in some kind of mission or adventure and happen to run into Kate. Then we find out about Kate. No, they're treating them as equals from the get-go in this show. We spend so much time with her before we even get to him at all, which really set like the whole opening credit sequence was all about her, was all like, you know, because we see the opening cold open about her apartment getting destroyed or whatever. And then the animated sequence is all like what she did until we catch up to her when the show comes back in college or you know, shooting the arrow at the bell tower in college.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is her show. Like I can tell immediately, which is great. Because they're definitely setting her up to move forward. Whatever happens with Jeremy Renner, you know, whether I don't know, he's going to die, but he may take a back seat. You know, he's got a family, certainly plenty of reasons to not be an Avenger anymore. So yeah, I can definitely see that. I know I'm like you're saying, I'm digging it. And I don't know if I have a bias because I just read the
source material,
the source material. And so when they're referencing something, I'm like, oh, there it is. Oh, there, yeah. So it's like, it's fresh in my head.
Dude, when Lucky showed up, I was just like, and right off the bat, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna like this.
Yeah. Pizza Dog is great. And it's fun. It's funny. Like they're doing a lot of, they're setting a lot up, I guess. That has yet to be explained and certainly will be followed through. And we just met Echo at the end of the last one, and I did not realize that she was going to be a villain. For some reason, I thought she was going to be more of like and maybe she will become more of like a anti-hero or helper to them. But certainly setting her up as like a bad guy, as the bad guy right now. Whether or not that whether or not she continues on that path will remain to be seen. Clearly something's going on with possibly Kate's mom and her fiance and all that. So, but is it going to be as obvious as it seems? Like right now, it's like, okay, well, that fiance killed that guy, right? Like he did it.
Right.
But could be a twist, could be more complicated than that. You know,
I'm assuming there's a twist.
Yeah.
And there's hard rumors out there that there's a twist. So buckle your seatbelts.
Okay, I haven't heard any of those rumors, and I don't want to. So
no, that's why I left it literally that to be on the lookout on socials to like stay vigilant, sir.
I will update my Twitter muted words to include Hawkeye. Right now, they're all Spider-Man No Way Home related, but I can include some Hawkeye references as well.
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed that Kate's apartment got burned down because when she walked in, I was like, oh, this is exactly Clint's apartment from the books.
The books, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just burned it down. I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Like, this is exactly, it looks exactly like it. Which, by the way, there's been a lot of people talking about how David-Aja should be getting checks for the design of this series because they're basing so much of it. Costume design, like I just said, the apartment, like so much of it on the stuff that he did in that book. And Fraction is credited as a consulting producer on the show, so he's getting something, which is good. But dude, David-Aja, pay that guy.
Yeah,
come on, step up, Marvel. And maybe they are. Who knows? Maybe they are. Maybe I know. I think I read an interview with Matt Fraction that said that he has a cameo in the show at least. Nice. So the artists and other people. Fraction was supposed to as well, but his scheduling like couldn't make it happen or whatever. But other people that worked on the book do have cameos in the show, which is good, as we've heard from Ed Brubaker say that he makes more money from his cameo appearance in the Winter Soldier movie than the money he got for creating the character of the Winter Soldier. So at the very least, they're getting they'll be getting some kind of residuals for from SAG or whatever. But anyway,
by the way, update to that, seeing, breaking news. Apparently 2 days ago, it came out that Aja is not getting any sort of check cut to him or even a credit.
Well, hey, Marvel, that's bullshit. Pay this guy. You are basing an entire show on the back of his work and his design and his eye and his brain. Make that known. Give it to him, because it's bullshit that he's not. He should be an executive producer of the show. Like, how is he not a consulting producer? How is it just Matt Fraction? Like, yeah, sure, Matt Fraction wrote it, but
right.
But they're not. They're maybe using characters that Matt Fraction created, like the tracksuit mafia guys. Like, sure, but they're not. They're certainly not doing the exact same plot so far as the book, and they're not using all the characters that he created so far, at least. So what they are doing is using the look of it and the feel of it and the design of it. And where did that come from? DavidAja. So
I mean, the credit scene is literally his cover in moving picture form.
I know. All the posters, the like their promotional art and stuff is so based on
you could take you could take the covers for each of the trades and just put them up there, and that's the poster.
Yeah. Okay. So come on, Marvel. We know Kevin Feige. We know you listen to this show every week.
Oh, absolutely.
Pay DavidAja. You're in charge of that, right? Make that happen. Come on.
I also never realized the other covers he's done. Like, looking at it, like all the other day I was browsing through over at Comic Zone, and I was like, the X-Corp books that I haven't picked up, I was like, those covers are great.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, I came back and I was looking through, I'm like, oh, that's Aja. Okay, that explains it.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great artist. It's very kind of unique style that I love. And clearly Marvel loves it too, because they're basing an entire show on it. So make it right. Do the right thing, Marvel.
That'd make too much sense.
Too much sense for a giant corporation to do. So anyway, I don't know how long we've been going here, but it feels like a while. So we should probably wrap things up, Steve. I don't have anything more to talk about. I liked Hawkeye, and it seems like you did too. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm excited to see what stories come out next week that we can talk about, a week from tonight. So,
I'm sure we'll think there's none, and there'll be way too many.
Yeah, and you know what? We always say if there's none, we'll just rank our favorite Star Wars movies and fight about it for an hour. But until then, Steve,
that sounds like don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah. All right, why don't you wrap it up, bud?
Sounds good. Anybody who is listening live, check out the follow button on Twitch down there somewhere. If you're listening via YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell. We'll let you know when we're uploading a new video. And if you're listening to this in podcast form, please rate, review, subscribe. Leave us a review, Matt. Especially when you said you were gonna. It helps us out. It lets other people find the show, and we'll hopefully keep going at this, and talk to you next week.
I like that. I mean, we have a good amount of listeners. We don't know every single one of them personally, but I like that the number is small enough now that we could possibly address the majority of them by name and tell them to write a review and threaten them. Maybe not. That may not be true. Probably not the majority of them by name, because we have a lot of people that we don't know that listen to the show, and we appreciate it. But if you could also write a review and rank us on Apple Podcasts, that would be great, as Steve just said. So thanks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in the multiverse.